brought it back. And we had a couple of schools that were very early to the table that said, yes, we're gonna walk alongside of you, and we're gonna try something that's unprecedented, and it's working. So we're privileged to have a couple individuals. If you could join me here at the front, let's give it up to Matt Sima, Rachel Combs, and Will Dybel. Will is the superintendent at Alburnett. So he is really that academic perspective. Rachel is an instructional coach at College Community Schools. And Matt is the launch teacher at College Community Schools. And that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where this is happening. So I'm going to pass it along. Will, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
I was really hoping to push that off on Matt, but for the 3D perspective, I guess I'm going to talk about it from an Alburnett specific perspective, and I actually wanted to just touch a little bit on again what Christina's already mentioned, that it is a program that is for every school district, and we looked at it in the sense of we're a lot smaller than probably the majority of the list up there. And we're a rural school, and so we're like, how are we going to make this work? And I think it's actually turned out even better because we're literally the only school, and I know we mentioned the cohort model, which is great, but we're literally the only school where when it's fully implemented, every single kid that graduates is going to have experience with 3D. And so, because our class size is about 75 for high school level, so that's all within a cohort model. And so every single kid that graduates from Alburnett is going to have this experience, and it is something that is truly being looked for across the country when you're looking for this program, because we know as school districts, we hear from community partners, from businesses, etc. This is what we need. We need those skills for collaboration with the kids. That's what's going to make them successful. And we also know the importance of teaching them, of course, the core content, making sure they're proficient in those different skills as well. And so the ability to combine that is truly something that we want and that we absolutely need. The support that goes along with this program as well, when you look at the overabundance of things that teachers have to do, is essential in order to make it a sustainable long-term program. Because I could speak to the fact that, I was one of those teachers that did something very similar back when I taught, and the minute I left, they stopped doing it because it was a lot of work. You'd have to spend a lot of time outside of school trying to talk to the community partners that you would bring in and plan, and that's, I was a single guy at the time that had no family, and so you didn't have to worry that I had no life. Like, you just go do it, and not many people fell in that category. So it's been a wonderful program for us. I'm also very lucky in the sense that since we're a small district, my office is 2 classrooms from the launch classroom, so I get to constantly see it, and a lot of the kids that are in there babysit my kids too, so they tell me about it personally. So it's just a wonderful program. So that was kind of my start, and I should have asked if that's what she was looking for from me, but
I want you to tell them what you think they would want to know, and that was perfect.
Perfect. I'm going to pass it along to Matt.
So my name is Matt Simon. I'm the launch teacher within Case Study Business at Syracuse Prairie, the 9th grade center. Jack, I took notes during your speech, so you'll be proud to have some talking points. One of the things I want to mention is at Prairie, we have the cohort model. We have 100 students to start this year, but we have about 420 students in 9th grade, roughly. So about a fourth of the kids. We were hoping for a little bit more, but as Jack was talking, it's kind of hard to explain what it is. And we've noticed that word of mouth is certainly spreading. For a second semester, we have 29 additional students that are joining 3E. We're adding a 5th section to our school. So good things are happening. Students are starting to understand all the things that Jack was talking about. And students obviously like it because we have 29 additional students come in. And I think the secret behind this model that I like, in addition to what Will was saying, with all the support, is 3 things. So I wrote down 3 things here. Number 1, I like that we have JA and 3D staff to support this, right? And what Will was saying, we don't have to do everything ourselves. We have a tremendous school director, Taylor Klein. Her room is right next door to us. She's an employee of JA from Eastern Iowa. She does amazing things in terms of supporting what's happening in the classroom, doing a lot of surveys with the students, connecting with students on a different level that I can as well. But also that business partnership, she's connecting with them. Which is number two. The business partners, I think, is really the proof in the pudding for students in terms of having some buy-in and value beyond school. Right? As a business teacher, we've done projects all 12 years that I've been teaching. This is so different. I see a different attitude and buy-in from students that I've never seen before. In fact, I wrote down 3 names. We have Van Meter yesterday and today that are coming. They're our current case that we're working with, and they're looking to expand. So the students are using a decision tree as their analytical tool in order to choose, are we going to buy and build a new facility, or are we going to buy land, or are we going to buy an existing warehouse and renovate it? So they had to think critically about that process and be objective. Danielle, one of the business people from Van Meter, was out yesterday, and she told me there's one student, she pointed to him, she said, he is amazing. He is just asking all great questions, and I kind of looked at her and said, are we talking about the same kid? The kid that kind of has his head down sometimes, but not yesterday with her in there, the business book. So really that connection to the business partners, which a lot of you are in that field, that's really the secret sauce, I think. And then the third thing is we have a culminating event. So the last thing I'll speak about here is at the end of each case, the 5-week case cycle, we've had one already. There are 4 winning teams. So after they do the initial internal judging, everybody, all the teams present. The top 4 teams, based on those rubrics, go on to the culminating event, which all of the students in 3D, so we had 100 students in our room. We had the business people from Mount Mercy, which was our previous case, in our room as well. They're going to be the judges for this case. We actually invited parents out as well. So we had a packed house. It was a lot of fun. And students buy in because it's competition. And they want to win too. They're very competitive. So that's kind of my short snippet to start things off. And a lot more if there's other things.
And he's amazing, so don't let him fool you. He does all the things. My name's Rachel Combs. I'm the instructional coach for the 9th grade center at College Community. And Jack, also, my first talking point, he was talking about project-based learning, and I was thinking, like, 7 years ago, I was sent on this trip for project-based learning, and I was like, I came back rejuvenated, and I was like, this is amazing, and I'm doing it in my classroom. I taught biology for 8 years when I was an at-risk teacher for 2 years, so I've been in a wide range of roles, and I thought then, I was like, I'm doing it, I'm excited, we're gonna do all this problem solving, and then I got back, and they're like, you can't do that, it doesn't fit our system. We don't have the capacity, we can't change our schedule, and I was like, well, that's disappointing, because I just spent 5 days learning about it. So I tried to do as much as I could in my classroom, but this model really allows the teachers to work together to create that flexibility and that problem solving. I'm going to echo everything they've said, but the thing that I think is the most, the biggest change is the student behavior. Our students are changing, right? I see it in the classroom. I see it out in public. I see it everywhere. Our kids are just adapting and changing with the times. What I've seen this year that's different than the years prior is their student self-advocacy, their ability to communicate, and more recently, their ability to collaborate effectively. I walked into Matt's room the other day, and the first case study they did, they were collaborating, but they weren't really collaborating. They were yelling at each other like, you're gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and they're not doing that right. But when I walked in yesterday, they were problem solving, and they were working through things. And I think that was really eye-opening to me because it's only been a couple months, and I noticed the change in student behavior. And that for me was an aha moment, like we are doing something right for these kids. And Matt said that we've got 29 added this next semester, and this morning I was talking with somebody else about like, what's the hang up? Why do we not have more kids in it? Public speaking is scary for kids, and I think that practicing it and hearing from your peers that it's not so scary, I think those 29 that are adding have realized that it is a doable thing and that it's not so scary anymore, and I think that is kind of why we've added that, and I'm excited to see what happens now that Matt's adding another section, and I'm excited to see what future years are coming, so yeah.
Did that not inspire you?
I want to thank you all, and I ask if you don't mind to stay, because we'll open up the floor in a minute for some additional questions, if you don't mind. In the meantime, this is probably blinding you, though.
So that's why you put me in the middle.
Well done, we'll be real quick. You might ask, okay, so we've had a great start. We've had a great start with Al Burnett and college community coming to the forefront to pioneer a new path here in Iowa. And Dr. Klein, my colleague, that leads our education initiative, is a relentless pursuit of inclusion here in the region, that if this is good for every 9th grade student at Prairie or at Al Burnett, it's good for every 9th grade student and 10th grade and 11th grade and 12th grade student in our region, and opening the door of possibilities for everyone to participate. So this is our growth model. Where are we going? We're not stopping with 2 schools. We have a school coming online in September of 25. We have another district making a tentative commitment to coming online in 26. And by 2030, we'll have 10 schools. That's our projection, our vision of what work is in the funnel. And we'd like to ask you to come alongside with us to make that work a reality. To date, a huge anchor has been foundational support from Green State and Melissa Winter and her team. But we can only do this work as a model if we have that public-private partnership. So great credit goes to Mount Mercy University, Van Meter, the Building Trades Council of Iowa City and Cedar Rapids, and Eastern Iowa Airport. We have local cases, we have national cases, but we have local leadership that's bringing it to life. It was not a plant, Barry, that we talked about Van Meter today. It just was fortuitous that you're hearing about the work that's already happening. And we want to invite you to come alongside of us in that work. There's a way for everyone to plug in, whether it's making a referral to someone you think would be excited, introducing someone to come to a culminating event. Maybe it's your business has a challenge and you want to partner with us in a real way. We're currently seeking partners for our 10th grade case challenges. We need 6 new companies to come alongside of us and build on the 6 that made a commitment for freshman year. And as we expand to further schools, will mean more colleagues that are embedded in those schools, more coaches, certainly more business opportunities. And so I would be remiss if I didn't ask for what it is that we need. We need people to come alongside of us that care about kids and their futures and the future of our local economy. And I haven't seen anything in my tenure that can move the needle in the direction that we all want before this. That's why we're so excited. There's a partner sheet in front of you. If you would take time before you leave, if you want more information, if you want to get involved, let us know. I talked with Dr. Fisher. How can we collaborate at Kirkwood in a more meaningful and strategic way? Now that we've gone a little bit further in knowledge sharing, we want to be the best we can be for all of our kids, and that is going to take a collective us in doing so. So I'm going to open it up for questions. Barry Boyer.
Yes, I'm curious, when I talk to teachers, what I hear is a feeling of being overwhelmed. So, you're teaching, there's a lot going on, and all of a sudden along comes JA and says, we're going to do this project-based learning. 2 questions. Number 1, have you seen examples of teachers who say, that's great, but I'm overwhelmed? And number 2, if they get involved, how does it change their day?
Well, I can only speak to myself. Maybe you can speak to the core teachers part of the thing. But Holly, our building principal, asked me last year if I want to be involved in this, and to me it was a no-brainer. Sure, there's some overwhelming parts of education, but I'm just looking at doing the best thing for kids, and I'm thinking, holy cow! Like, we're trying to do this in business classes. What a great opportunity to connect with JA and have them reach out to business partners and kind of do that side of things. well, I can still support kids and do what I'm good at in the classroom. So, I mean, for me, it's not overwhelming. It's actually very supportive. Selfishly, I've loved this year where I've worked with other colleagues. I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
So does it change your day?
So it does change my day, because in terms of my class, it's no longer a semester, it's a year long. Because obviously the case is you don't have as much time to build in the curriculum. So it's spread out throughout the year. So my day is less direct instruction, and it's more supporting students through their research, which I think is what all educators try to get to, right? Which is not just sit and get, but they're actively learning. They're doing something. So yes, it's changed my day-to-day quite extensively. And then Rachel can talk about maybe the core teachers, English. We have the core teachers within English, math, and science.
I would say math's probably the most affected. The other teachers do try to infuse their tools. So the last example I could use is we did a decision tree. And our English teacher used that with her theme. So they had a character in the book, and they picked a character, did a decision tree with it. So what decisions they would make, and they built off that. So it's just a different activity that they've used within their classroom. I wouldn't say that they necessarily change the way that they do things. But to Matt's credit, we as college community have been really pushing different instructional strategies that are high leverage, big effect size. So Matt has been doing that very, very well because of the way that they create 3D. The project-based learning, the effect size of all of the strategies they use within it, the annotation, the things that they do within there are things that we're striving to get all of our other teachers to do. So I wouldn't say that it necessarily changes a lot of the things that he does and our teachers in our other courses. They are requested to do these tools, but not required, because they're kind of sharing the load. So if Matt didn't do the decision tree in his room, one of the other teachers would pick it up. They kind of just share the load.
And the trade-off is, with more engaged students, your classrooms are probably easier to manage.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed. You know.
Okay.
So I currently have 2 sections of Introduction to Business, which is a semester-long course. Students who want to do business but not 3D. And I certainly notice a difference in behavior in 3D classes versus non-3D.
Congratulations.
Another example, I just thought of this one. We have a student that's on check in, check out. If that's just somebody who's...
What does that mean?
So they're having behavior issues in the class, and they're a 3D student. And so it's made it easy for me to go talk with the teachers about what's going on with him in terms of every class. And I'm able to check in with him at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day. And having those teachers, those core teachers, we've been able to really communicate with him and talk about what's going on. And honestly, it's been an easier process than normal, because I'm usually running throughout the building to check out with him at the end of the day. And him being a 3D student has made it easier on me. And we have been able to really get back to business. So if you acted like that at work, what would be the result of that? And he's like, yeah, that would be good. No, not good.
And I think if we're doing traditional business lessons like we did, we're doing critical and analytical thinking as the competency, we're being objective, we're looking for evidence, we're looking at data. If we're just doing a lesson where students are looking at primary and secondary data and taking notes on a sheet, they're not going to be as engaged, right? I had a student yesterday with Danielle from Van Meter in there, and he came up to me. Of course, they're looking for either buying land and building, or buying a building and renovating. And he came up to me super excited, and his eyes widened up because he got some good feedback from Danielle, the business coach, and he said, I think we have a winner here. I said, tell me more. And he said, well, they're looking for 100,000 square foot facility, and theirs was 101,000 up to 200,000. So he's like, I learned what divisible space was, where we can start out with this much, and maybe we could grow. We could tell them they could expand, and in the meantime, they could rent out the space. I mean, his eyes were wide. That's great, Ethan. So it was a lot of fun to see, how engaged they are. Speaking to your point of, just easier to manage classrooms in that regard. They're engaged.
For Albernet, I think this was unique in the one sense that they had the teachers actually go to explore 3DE when they went to the different schools that are already implemented. So with a lot of the districts, they have a large enough staff that they might just send their administrators and then come back and talk to the teachers about it. And actually in Albernet, they took the teachers because it was guaranteed those are going to be your teachers because there's not as many in the building. And honestly, that actually going to watch it, because they had those same kind of reservations prior to going and watching it in action in some of the larger districts. And when they saw that, they came back and were like, yeah, we're good to go. Like we're on board with this. And so I think that once they get involved in it, they realize that with the support through the JA staff that's there, as well as like how the model is set up, it's not a room, and that's why it's sustainable, I think, truly, because of the model with that support in there.
Can I add one other thing to that too? Just because that's your question's spot on and something that we've tried to solve for from the beginning in terms of just the feeling of teachers being overwhelmed with this. So we now have a teacher certification program nationally that teachers can opt into to get certified, a lot of case method, pedagogy, and 3D stuff. Of teachers that have been certified, we have a 96% retention rate. And so I think that like we do see a lot of, there'll always be some late adopters to it that may stay on the sidelines for a while until they see other teachers leaning in. But I think that the support that's being provided, and then I think you all exemplify really well the camaraderie that's created among the teachers is huge. Like the teacher community that's there that really builds.
That cross-disciplinary professional learning community meets with our 3D colleagues. Either those that live in that building and work alongside those teachers each and every day, or those that are external to the building, and the priority for their work is 3DE and an interface within our community. I think that is one of the differentiators, is we provide that framework, bolster it with leadership and support, and an ongoing framework that is kind of unduplicated. That seems to be a lot of the reflection that we've gotten with other districts. I had to see it to understand it myself. I've probably had to hear about it 10 times before it started taking shape for me. But initially, the thing that resonated was every kid that goes through 3DE feels more empowered. Many of them find their voice, maybe for the first time, and they engage in a cohort of students that they never would engage with otherwise. And it makes learning fun. So it's that robust, relevant journey of learning that I think is transforming the landscape here, not only in Eastern Iowa, but as more schools come online, it's really going to make a big change in our local economy. So with that, are there other questions? Patty, I'm going to bring you the microphone.
Okay, so thinking about can you give us examples of businesses and the case studies you've had, and then how it would seem to me businesses need to get involved in this, because these students are going to come out and be in our businesses. So we're going to have to lead and manage very differently in the future. You can't just put people in a single department where they're not collaborating with others. So hopefully businesses are thinking that through to say, I need to get in on this and learn how to lead and manage. So going back to the question, give me some examples of businesses you've currently partnered with and what that project looked like.
Would you like to take that?
Thanks, Patty. That wasn't a planned question, that's my mom. So this year, we have 3 national partners and 3 local partners. The national partners started off with a credit union and conglomerate, and it was really nice. We got to talk about Green State as well. The second one was Mount Mercy University, and it was really nice because that was the first group that came in, and they have experience with teenage students, and so they were able to come in and really understand that the product that they were providing might not be what a 12th grade student would have, so they had that understanding. Van Meter obviously is coming in right now. The next case is going to be Arby's. It's a national case. I don't know if any of you have teenagers, but they're going to be the protagonists of marketing and trying to figure out what Arby's is trying to figure out. How do we get teenagers in the door to get excited about beef and cheddar sandwiches, which they just don't at this point in time. The fifth case, and I'm excited about all the cases, but maybe most specifically about this one, is with the Cedar Rapids and Iowa City Trades Group. They actually were at this meeting several months ago, and we talked about how do we get students excited about various things, whether it's going to college or not. And they raised their hand and said, you know, we've got a pipeline issue. We have all of these jobs and opportunities, and all of us sitting around the table are not going to be the demographic of what we need going forward. And so they made their largest marketing investment in this initiative, and they're really excited about their case. And then the last case is a national case with Delta. And Aaron Kurtz and others kind of talked, how do we get some business partners aligned with that? And so the culminating event is actually going to be at the Eastern Iowa Airport. And what's amazing is many of us probably have flown before or had the privilege of doing that, and many of our students have not. And so we're going to physically be there at the gates to be able to have students have that experience, to have be able to give that feedback and give the pitch. And so that is this year. What we are looking for. Next year we'll have 3 national partners again as well. And so we'll work with those and have local businesses mentoring and coaching. Students have started to ask for different industries, whether it's agriculture. We've had several students out of Alberta that said, hey, can we get an ag company in here? So any connection that folks have with that would be really great. We've started some initial conversations. They're very interested in apps and technology, and so we've had some of those conversations as well with some folks. But really giving that wide spectrum, because if you think about this year, they're going from credit unions and higher ed to the trades and aerospace and fast food and an electrical company. I'm like, that's a really wide swath that these students may have not been exposed to in the past. So any businesses are very beneficial, and we're trying to give them that wide array of opportunities. So whether it's your business or you can think of some others, we're trying to have that exposure for students across many different industries. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, how do you help the businesses? Because that's a lot to take on, figure out think.
Yeah. What's really interesting, so they've talked a couple times about Danielle. Danielle is at Van Meter, and Danielle has been a part of a couple different project-based learning models in the Cedar Rapids area. And when Aaron and I met with her, one of the struggles that she had was, hey, I've never built a business case before, and I'm being asked to build a business case for educators, but you're telling me you're going to build it for us? And so that's the great thing of what Jack and Callie have put together, this national support system, where a business will come to us with a problem, like we need space. Cool, we'll have an interview with you for 45 minutes, and then our national team is going to build that case in the language for a 9th grade or a 10th grade student. So there is a national support system that allows them to build a case. So the business partners they're really good at pipe fitting, but maybe not necessarily really good at building what a case would look like for a 9th grader. And that's the support that we provide, in addition to the in-class support with our school coordinators and our launch teacher as well.
Go ahead. I hear you guys always talk about business and so forth, but what about the STEM and the STEAM students? My husband's a physician, my first master's is in molecular biology and genetics. They need that too, so does this play a role in that?
We would love to have Dr. Reed and others. So when we talk about like a Unity Point or a Mercy Medical Center or others, we consider those businesses as well. And how do we partner with them? Most all of the competencies, and Jack could probably talk about this as well, touch on those STEM or STEAM competencies as well. Those are things we're talking about, whether it's through a JA course or through Career Inspire, inviting them to the table. So we're not trying to be exclusionary in that at all. These competencies really go throughout any industry and any pathway as well. It's just about finding the right fit for the students that come in. So I know we've had some conversations with those industries as well.
One thing too, that I think is so relevant, we've talked a lot about business pathway and that kind of thing, but these competencies, it doesn't matter what your future career aspirations are, you want these competencies in all employees. And for example, the 12th or 11th grade, they do an entrepreneurial project. Well, most of our students will never become an entrepreneur, but the entrepreneurial mindset is what we're building. So how do you think independently? How do you listen to your market and then deliver on something that they're telling you they need? That's the mindset, so it doesn't matter if they're going to be a research biologist, or they're going to be an accountant, or they're gonna be a pipe fitter. You want those employees to be self-directed, analytical thinkers, collaborators, communicators, so it truly fits all of those industries. And I think that that's part of what we're trying to showcase, as Dr. Klein was saying, with the diversity of industry in our case partners. So that we can truly say, it doesn't matter the industry, the career, these are skills you need for life, and as an effective employee. And so that's the, future benefit for us as employers that's really coming out of it.
I want to be respectful of time. I know that we have the City of Albernet and Mr. Daigle both have a comment to share. If you do have to go, feel free, permission to leave. I know schedules are tight, but if you could hang for one more minute, take a couple last questions, and then it will all be available for informal thereafter, and Jason will come and maybe end with you, if that's okay.
I was just gonna add on that, when you talk about the benefits too, and how we're developing the kids to be great employees, that's their success. But throughout my time as an educator, whenever there's been a local, and it could be business, nonprofit, like government agency, anything that connects with the kids, immediately you are creating your own future workforce. Because by making that connection, you're letting them experience what it's like to be a part of Van Meter, to be a part of Mount Mercy, or these other partners that we're with, which in turn automatically piques their interest and makes them interested in that business. Which, we can talk to them about, these are all the different business options you have, or are your future employment options, or what you can do. But I can tell you from experience that honestly, the kids get this idea, and usually it's limited to like 10. If you ask a kid when they're in middle school what they want to do, you can say, like doctor, lawyer, it's traditional, professional, yes, or now streamer, or, video game, those things. But the idea is when you connect them, there's a student that one of our instructional coaches had brought up that now is interested in going to Van Meter. After doing those interviews, he is so interested in going to Van Meter, and he really cares about what he's doing right now because he wants to make a good impression, because that's now where he wants to go work. And so that's something that you're doing with your connections as well. So it's not just, because sometimes people look at it as I'm doing I'm basically volunteering. You are, and it's important. You're developing these kids, but also developing them for your own business or wherever you work. And I think that's important to know, and that's a good investment. So,
your best friend ambassadors are those that choose to work for you, right? So every interaction, every touch point, every conversation illuminates the why you've chosen that employer, and kids are making connections with you and trying that on. I think that's been the secret sauce of the JA volunteer mentorship throughout all of our programs, is that we can bring visibility to different types of career paths and industries here locally. Chris. And then we'll bring it to Jason.
My name is Chris Myers. I'm with the Albernet City Council, and also most nights about 2 feet to the left of me, I sit next to the instructional strategist for Albernet schools and how she's been working with 3D. It's been wonderful to see and hear her excitement and the projects that are going on. One question I have though is, do you guys work with municipalities at all?
Yeah,
There are no restrictions.
Okay, and what type of projects have they brought to you?
Callie, do you happen to know any offering?
I'm gonna take this to the back.
So right now there's one in Gwinnett County where they have the Parks and Recreation group is working with the students of how can we actually make these parks more beneficial for individuals in our community, because they have kind of had a transformation of the demographics within their community. We have in Minneapolis, there is the Economic Development Council is engaging, looking at how do we actually build up what we know we need from a talent pipeline perspective. That's speaking directly to students as why they're not interested in certain careers, and so that they can be sure that when they're shaping kind of their organizational structure to outreach, it's really speaking to students earlier than waiting until they're 20, 21, 22 years old. So it's all vary, it kind of is dependent on what's most important to that local government.
No questions, more of a comment. First comment is, thank you for this, JA. True North is definitely interested and excited to participate and collaborate. But the second comment is more of a relevancy comment. My wife and I, Jen, we have two daughters, Celia 19, Ruby 17. Celia is a sophomore at High Point University in High Point, North Carolina. High Point holds themselves out as the premier life skills university, and they also talk about experiential learning. They have experts in residence that work with the kids. Celia wakes up every day as a sophomore in college now thinking about her future. She can see a future. Instead of, I'm going to class wondering what my life might look like and why am I really here, other than I've heard it's a good idea to go to college, my parents want me to go there. These principles work. I'm seeing it firsthand. It is a major movement in education and creating a culture of engagement and accountability in our citizenship. So kudos, wonderful program that you created. We're excited about it.
Thank you, Jason. And again, a generous thank you for our educators. We all know how special it is to live in Eastern Iowa, but when you have some of the best schools, it makes it easy to advocate for them. And when you have some of the most progressive corporate partners, it's easy to come ask because you've been so responsive. So I also want to give a warm thank you to Callie Majors and of course Jack Harris with Junior Achievement USA and 3DE National. I want to thank you all for coming. And informally, we'll be here. The coffee and pastries will continue, and we look forward